Okay. Is everyone ready? Great, thank you. The West Hollywood Planning Commission acknowledges that the land on which we gather and that is currently known as the City of West Hollywood is the occupied, unceded, seized territory of the Gabrielino Tongva and Gabrielino Kij peoples. This Planning Commission meeting is being live broadcast and teleconferenced on the city's website and is also provided on a wide array of streaming media platforms to offer access to the public to the fullest extent possible. You may call in to make a comment, and you may also listen to this meeting by dialing 669-900-6833. The meeting ID is 824-5871-4162, and then you would press the pound sign. WehoTV staff have confirmed that this Planning Commission meeting is currently streaming successfully on Spectrum Channel 10 and online at weho.org/WehoTV. In addition, and as a courtesy, this meeting is also successfully streaming on the city's YouTube channel at youtube.com/WehoTV and on Roku, Apple TV, Fire TV, and Android TV. WehoTV staff monitor this broadcast on all platforms throughout the meeting and will notify the Planning Commission Secretary should broadcast disruptions arise. Please do not interrupt the live meeting by calling or texting the Planning Commissioners about difficulties viewing the meeting. Please understand that internet speeds, device reliability, third-party platform reliability, and individual or personal technical issues are out of the scope of this broadcast. If you are experiencing viewing difficulties while watching this live stream, please reload the page or visit weho.org/WehoTV to access our official live stream and to view a list of other available streaming options and a guide to troubleshoot your connection. If you continue to experience difficulties, you can also call 323-848-3151. I'm calling to order this meeting of the West Hollywood Planning Commission. This is a regularly scheduled meeting. It's Thursday, December 1st, just after 6:30, and away we go. I've never done this before, but I'm actually just going to lead the Pledge of Allegiance myself. So I'm tired of, I feel bad picking victims, so I'll do it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before we get going tonight, I would be remiss if I did not take a moment and request that we adjourn this meeting in memory of Ed Levin. Ed Levin, if you did not know him, was a regular attendee at and contributor to meetings for the Planning Commission and Historic Preservation Commission, where he served as an HPC commissioner. An architect himself, he also had a number of projects in the city, and he passed away 2 Fridays ago. So this was actually a little kind of summary of his life that Councilmember Lindsay Horvath read at the last council meeting. And although I feel fairly certain that Ed would probably be annoyed that I was doing this and that he would be receiving this much attention, I do think it bears repeating. So. Born October 22nd, 1952 in the city of Schenectady, New York, he recently celebrated his 70th birthday. He was a professional architect for 49 years, based here in West Hollywood, where he had a small successful private practice with his partner, Jorge Nariño. He earned his bachelor's degree from Cornell University and his master's degree from Harvard University, and he taught on the faculty at Carnegie Mellon University and Harvard University. Early in his career, he formed a partnership, Levin Morris, with his late wife Ellen, and relocated to LA in 1981, eventually making his way to our fine city of West Hollywood. He worked for several years with Barton Myers and Associates in Los Angeles, where he met his current business partner, Jorge Nariño. After many years working together, he and Jorge partnered together these past 8 years, forming Levin Nariño Architects. Ed's extensive knowledge of art, architecture, music, history, philosophy, law, housing policy, politics, literature, vintage cars, and innumerable other subjects was truly remarkable. He was even once a contestant on Jeopardy! A passionate collector and aficionado of classic cars, including his beloved 1970 Lancia Fulvia HF. He was actually a frequent contributor to a vintage car collector site, and I recently learned that he posted 16,000 different comments over the span of just over 10 years. He was incredibly civically minded, and one of his favorite hobbies was to read federal and California Supreme Court decisions. Maybe one of the few of us. His firm is known locally for his architectural work, including Chiconi's restaurant and a number of residential and mixed-use buildings in West Hollywood, Beverly Hills, and Los Angeles. He served on many task forces and advisory groups and was a leading voice in helping to develop West Hollywood's Green Building Ordinance. He regularly wrote memos to local and state officials, helping craft housing policy and code that was at once fair, thoughtful, and logical. Ed was an incredibly principled person and strove for excellence in all that he did. His adherence to his principles commanded the respect of others always, even when they might have disagreed with him. He served the city for 17 years as a commissioner on West Hollywood's Historic Preservation Commission and helped guide efforts to survey the city's historic past. He also served several years in the Beverly Hills Architectural Review Board. He had a passion for historic structures and lived in Leland Bryant's 1928 Romanesque villa, a Spanish colonial-style apartment building on North Harbor Avenue. A small firm practitioner, he also made time to serve for the past 2 decades on the West Hollywood Chamber of Commerce's Government Affairs Committee. He was the sole caretaker of his late wife, Ellen, for the last 20 years of their marriage until her passing in 2019, and I should note, did not take a vacation day once during that time. After Ellen passed, Ed had a new lease on life and soon met his forever life partner and fiancée, Roberta Tabor. They immediately clicked and soon began splitting their time between her home in Hermosa Beach and Ed's in West Hollywood. They joined their households, introducing their 4 cats to one another, traveling across the country to spend time with their families, and making plans for their future together, which included retirement, travel, and relocating to Hermosa Beach. Ed regularly remarked to his friends that Roberta was the best thing that could have happened to him. The change in him when they met was palpable. His biting wit and sarcastic sense of humor was a comfort to anyone who knew him well. "How are things going, Ed?" "Oh, the usual insanity." He always remembered birthdays and special events and was never too busy to take a phone call, answer a question, or explain a complicated subject. Ed's sudden and tragic passing is the loss of a true light in this world to his friends and family in the institutions upon which our communities and society rely. Sorry. He was an incredible thinker, writer, professional friend, and partner. He will be missed by all who knew him. He is survived by his fiancée, Roberta Tabor, his mother, Virginia Levin, and his business partner, Jorge Nariño. May we all strive to live our lives with the standards that Ed had. To be selfless, to be of service, to be excellent, and to be kind. Thank you. I'm not closing my computer, sorry. It's very emotional for me. Okay. Item 4 is approval of the agenda. We do have some changes, and I want to apologize in advance to anybody in the audience this evening who may not have seen some of the notes about some of the hearings this evening. So,
Chair?
Oh, please.
Excuse me, can we
Do roll call?
Yes.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, I was verklempt. It's my bad. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. Tonight, Commissioner Carvalero will be absent, so all roll call votes will reflect that. Commissioner Matos.
Present.
Commissioner Lombardi.
Present.
Commissioner Gregoire.
Present.
Commissioner Copeland.
Present.
Vice Chair Thomas.
Here.
Chair Jones.
Here.
And we have a quorum.
Thank you, and thank you for checking me, David. Again, item 4 is approval of the agenda. Again, I do want to extend my most sincere apologies to anybody who may have missed that there is one item in particular that is going to be continued. Because there are a number of changes, I would like to make a motion that we just up front, because there are continuances for a number of items. Please note that item 10A, that's 8465 Santa Monica Boulevard, is proposed to be continued to December 15th, 2022. Item 10B, item 10B, 8497 to 8499 Sunset Boulevard is being proposed to be continued to January 19th, 2023. That is a change from what is in the agenda packet for this meeting. Item 10D is 8527 to 8555 Santa Monica Boulevard and 8532 to 8552 Northwest Knoll Drive. That is also being proposed for continuance to January 19th, 2023. Item 10E is zone text amendment for West Hollywood West Neighborhood Overlay District Design Standards, and that also is being proposed for continuance to December 15th, 2022. So, do I have any discussion or requests for additional changes, or do I have a second?
I'll second. Chair Jones.
Oh, please go ahead.
I just want to announce on the record I'll need to abstain from this vote because I have a real property conflict of interest, and that I live within 500 feet of two of the subject properties, 8465 Santa Monica Boulevard and the project that includes 9555 Santa Monica Boulevard.
Thank you. Just confirming with City Attorney, does he need to recuse from?
No, it's sufficient for the motion for the approval of the agenda to just recuse from the continuance, and then he'll make his formal recusal during the items when the public hearing is open.
Okay, great, thank you.
And the motion passes to amend the agenda for December 1st, 2022, noting Commissioner Carvalero absent and Commissioner Gregoire recused.
Thank you, David. Item 5 is approval of the minutes. Just a note that, let me make sure this is right. I believe this is for the meeting for November 17th, 2022, is recommended for continuance to Thursday, December 15th, 2022. So do we need to vote on that? No. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, sorry. I'm overwhelmed with emotion. Item 6 is public comment. David, do we have any public comment at this time?
Chair, we have no one in chambers that have requested to speak. We do have one caller on our Zoom platform. I'll hand that over to Jill.
Great, thank you. I do just want to note that this public comment period is for general comments that do not pertain to any of the items that we are or would be hearing tonight.
And if I can jump in really quick, for those of you on the Zoom platform that have called in, please *9 for me. That'll let me know you'd like to make a general comment.
Thank you.
At this time, we would like to have Lynn Russell go ahead and state your name and city of residence and unmute yourself.
Good evening, Chair Jones and fellow commissioners. This is Lynn Russell in West Hollywood. During the last meeting on November 17th concerning 1317 North Crescent Heights Boulevard was rather perplexing on multiple levels. The Commission had at least 4 opportunities to get this issue into the proper channel. My request for continuance was made prior to the meeting, then early in the hearing, and further commented upon during the item itself in the discussion. Victor Omachenko likewise submitted a document in advance from the board of the West Hollywood Preservation Alliance and then spoke again during the hearing of the item itself. The item rightfully should have been directed to HPC for proper review. Staff was aware of that and presumably the city attorney, yet no one actually said peep other than several commissioners that voiced their concern. More than 100 signatures in support of an appeal have been acquired, which would not have been necessary. It is always helpful if folks understand and follow proper protocol, as it would reduce the onerous burden on all of us, the staff and the public. I'm going to briefly read from the relevant ordinance that people seem to overlook or were not knowledgeable about. 19.58.040, Review Authority. The Historic Preservation Commission shall serve as the review authority for all projects involving designated or potential cultural resources, all applications for certificates of appropriateness, all nominations and designations, all rehabilitation incentive applications, and in all public outreach or public information projects indicated in various sections. That is the crux of this review authority, and this is what was really shockingly overlooked, and no one seemed to be in a position to stand up for this. We have these ordinances in the city for a reason, and to be informed about them and to act upon them at the proper time, given the proper protocol. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak.
Hello, Chair. We do have one more person that would like to speak, and that would be Lynn Hoopengardner. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you. Lynn Hippengarner, City of West Hollywood. I'd like to thank Chair Jones for your comments and thoughts about Ed Levin. I think all of us are still in shock and at a loss. Those of us who've worked with Ed over many years on many projects knew that he was a powerful voice in our city, and his absence will be palpable both in planning and HPC and throughout many, many areas of the city. May his memory be a blessing. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
And Chair, that was our last public speaker.
Thank you. Just for anyone in the auditorium this evening, you will have another opportunity to speak if you like at the public comment portion at the end of the meeting. Item 7 is Director's Report. Mr. Kehoe, we're happy to have you here this evening.
Thank you, Chair and Vice Chair and members of the Commission. John Kehoe, Director of Planning and Development Services. Just 2 items at Council I'd like to give an update on. It's at the last meeting, the City Council heard a presentation on potential bike lanes on Fountain Avenue, and the Council did give us direction to proceed with looking at placing protected bike lanes on Fountain Avenue, including doing a pilot project first as we move forward with that. And then at the next City Council meeting on December 19th is something that we're looking forward to, that we're very excited about, and that's the city's looking at the gender-neutral multi-stall restroom ordinances that the Planning Commission took a look at a while back and passed and moved it on to City Council. So we're excited about that since the city lobbied to get the state to change legislation to allow us to do that. So we're very pleased with that. And then also I would like to just congratulate Stacy on the recent marriage she had. So congratulations on that. And then also I too would like to send my condolences to Ed's family and friends. I worked with Ed over many, many years, and I will miss him. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. Item 8 is items from commissioners. Would anyone like to speak? Commissioner Copeland, please go ahead.
Hi, thank you, Chair. I was just wondering if it's possible, and this commission is amenable to ask our council members to once again, perhaps temporarily, consider doing some meetings on Zoom for a while with the headlines today about the resurgence in COVID and the 50% uptick in hospitalizations, and it's expected to get worse. So I don't know how the rest of the commissioners feel, but some of us have family members that are immunocompromised, and so we're heading into evidently a very risky period for a bit. So I don't know how, however the rest of you feel about that, if there's something that we could ask our council members to look at again, if anyone else feels the same way.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's all for me, Chair.
Thank you very much. Vice Chair Thomas?
Thank you, Chair. I would like to acknowledge that today is World AIDS Day. It's an international day dedicated to raising awareness of the AIDS pandemic caused by the spread of HIV infection and mourning those that we've lost to the disease. There are approximately 1.2 million people in the U.S. with HIV, 13% of whom do not know that they have it because they haven't been tested. So I encourage everyone who hasn't already to familiarize themselves with the city's HIV Zero strategic plan, get tested, and if you haven't already, sorry about that, familiarize yourself with the city social services programs dedicated to providing resources for people with HIV and AIDS. And also I'd like to say happy birthday to the city of West Hollywood and congratulate city staff on a really lovely 38th birthday celebration at the Arc this past Tuesday.
Thank you. Commissioner Lombardi?
Thank you, Chair Jones, for that thoughtful adjournment. Ed's impact in the city has been tremendous, and I certainly enjoyed the many conversations I was able to have with him. and I do wish his family and his business partner, Jorge, the best. On a later note, I just also wanted to say I'm confident that Chair Jones will see you here on this dais again next year, but just in case, I do want to thank you for your 7.5 years of service on the commission. You've been a tremendous help as I've adjusted to being onto this commission. I really enjoy our conversations. Your experience in history on the commission is very insightful. And I'm just going to say, see you again here in 2023. I know you won't be at the next meeting, but thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Matos, do you want to say anything? So you don't have to, I'm just, no? All right, well, first of all, thank you. I did get married a couple weeks ago, and I'm actually getting married again in 2 weeks overseas. In any case, I also wanted to just state for the record, and I've said this before, but I'm going to be gone for the December 15th meeting. I'm not getting married and leaving forever, just I will not be at the next meeting. That being said, there is a chance, given that we have elected 3 new city council people, that it may be my last meeting. So should that be the case, and I hope it's not, but should that be the case, I just want to state on camera, live to anyone who's watching or listening, that it has truly been my privilege to serve as a planning commissioner in this town. I've lived here the entire time I've lived in California, which is now more than 17 years. And it truly is my privilege to speak with people in the community and our applicants, working with our amazing staff, and also with everyone who has served with me on the dais, whether they're here right now or not. You're all incredibly talented, and I have so much respect for each and every one of you, so thank you. All right, this is an incredibly sentimental meeting. Wow, I'm overwhelmed. Okay. Item 9 is consent calendar. There is none. Okay, item 10, public hearings. So we'll just run through these again, just for posterity to make sure that we don't miss anything. Again, 8465 Santa Monica Boulevard. This was supposed to be continued from Thursday, October 6th. This was a public hearing to consider the determination of general plan consistency for the city's acquisition of real property and replacement of an existing one-sided static billboard with a new two-sided billboard with a development agreement for the property located at the aforementioned address. Again, this has been recommended for a continuance to the next meeting, which is Thursday, December 15th. So, item 10B is 8497 to 8499 Sunset Boulevard. Again, this is also being recommended for continuance to January 19th, 2023. I do want to state that this was actually listed in the agenda packet as being continued to Thursday, December 15th. So again, please make a note that this has now been continued to January 19th, 2023. Again, this was a request, public hearing to consider a request to replace a previously approved static billboard with a new digital off-site advertising billboard for the properties located at the aforementioned address. And that brings us to item 10C, our only non-continued item this evening. This is 1008, 1016, and 1020 North Ogden Drive and 1013 North Genesee Avenue. This is a request to subdivide 4 separate 4-story, 7-unit residential developments into common interest developments on contiguous parcels and adopting a categorical exemption pursuant to CEQA guidelines listed in the agenda for the aforementioned properties. And with that, I will turn this over to Tony Castillo.
Thank you, Chair. I'll get my PowerPoint in order here. Okay. Does that look good, David? Okay, thank you, Chair Jones, Vice Chair Thomas, and members of the Commission. Good evening. My name is Antonio Castillo, Senior Planner with the Current and Historic Preservation Planning Division. The item before you this evening is a consolidated public hearing for approval of 4 tentative tract maps to subdivide 4 contiguous parcels into common interest developments or condominiums. Each parcel is under common ownership, and each of the tentative tract map has findings contained within its own resolution. In 2015, the three Ogden parcels were approved by the Planning Commission following a similar consolidated public hearing, and the fourth parcel along Genesee was approved separately that same year, February of 2015. Each of the maps has since expired, resulting in the applicant returning with new applications for each site. Three of the four contiguous sites are located on the east side of Ogden Drive between Santa Monica Boulevard to the north and Romaine Street to the south. The fourth contiguous site is located on the west side of Genesee Avenue, sharing a rear property line with 1008 Ogden Drive. All four subdivisions are for residential developments that are currently under construction under previously approved entitlements. Each includes a 4-story, 7-unit residential building over a single-level parking garage. And each development will include one affordable housing unit. The relatively flat sites are each approximately 6,500 square feet in size and measures 50 feet in width and approximately 130 feet in depth. The immediate vicinity is developed mostly with 2- and 3-story multifamily developments in a variety of architectural styles, and all located within the R3B zoning district. The developments currently under construction comply with the density for dwellings within the R3B zoning district, and all are comply with the development standards under the zoning ordinance. And as previously affirmed by the Planning Commission in its adoption of the resolutions in 2015, the subdivision of the buildings will not be detrimental to the public welfare and will not impede implementation of the general plan, nor the purpose and intent of the provisions of the zoning ordinance. And therefore, staff recommends approval of the subdivision permits as conditioned in the attached resolutions in your packet, and that being 4 separate resolutions. And with that, this concludes my presentation, Chair. We also have the applicant in the audience if there are any questions. Thank you.
Great, thanks very much. Do we have any questions from commissioners for staff about items contained in the staff report at this time? Yeah? No? Go ahead. Oh, sorry, Commissioner Lombardi, go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to understand for a minute, because I have questions and maybe others do too, the history of this project. So I guess if we start with the Genesee Avenue project, 2015, Planning Commission held a public hearing, adopted resolution PC 15-1113. In November 2017, building permits were issued. It's now 2022 and the project's still under construction. Do you have any information in terms of why the construction period has been so long?
There were several reasons, some in part having to do with the pandemic, with supply chains and labor and so forth. I think our applicants might be able to elaborate on that further, Commissioner.
Okay, and then I have the same question about the 3 Ogden properties or properties adjacent to Ogden. Do you have any similar information relating to those or no?
It would, similar response, okay. Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions for staff at this time? Technically, the applicant does have an opportunity to speak. Does anyone have any questions for the applicant? I want to defer to City Attorney, just Commissioner Copeland, very quickly. Should we do ask for public comment first and then ask the applicant for questions?
I believe Commissioner Copeland may have a question for staff.
Oh, okay.
And then we can have public comment and then
Okay.
questions from the applicant.
Okay, great, thank you.
Actually, the applicant probably could answer some of these, but I was not able to find some of this information online, and we have some different dates here, so I was a little bit confused about some of it. But the original applications were for condominiums or rental units, was the first question.
The initial application for all 4 separate applications were for condominiums.
Were always for condominiums?
Correct. They included a subdivision.
And then I was going to ask about the breakdown of the affordable unit income levels and whether those would be assigned as 1 or 2 bedrooms, but I could ask that to the applicant, I suppose. Because I was not able to find some of these agreements online, so I was a little bit confused, and some of the dates were said construction approval in 2015. So I'll probably ask the applicant some of those later on. But I think for staff, that's all I have right now. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Antonio, do you want to answer any of those, or do you want to, we can ask for public comment and then have the applicant weigh in?
Yes, I think that the applicant would be better equipped to answer that
Okay.
specific question.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? No, I don't know why it is, but these glass barriers just make it, it's still weird. So it's just still weird. Okay. So at this point, normally, again, if you don't come to these meetings all the time, no hard feelings about that at all. We would have the applicant give a presentation up to 10 minutes, and then we would have the public speak, and then we would have the opportunity for the applicant to rebut. Do we have any public speakers at this time, David?
Chair, I have no public speakers in chambers. I do believe we have one comment on the Zoom platform, so I'll pass that over to Joseph.
Okay.
Yes, we do have one, and it is Lynn Hoopengarner. Go ahead and unmute yourself and state your name and state of residence, please.
Hi, this is Lynn Hoopengarner. My city of residence is West Hollywood, and I just knew you guys would be heartbroken if you didn't hear from me again this evening. So, Commissioner Copeland, I think, twigged to one of the issues that I noticed. I came in here to look up the original approvals, and unfortunately, I couldn't find those online either. But importantly, what I noticed is in the resolutions, and Tony, this is where I think you can help. It states that on page 3 of each of the resolutions that the current construction of the residential development was approved by Planning Commission in 2015 under resolution PC 15-1125. But if I see it correctly in the attachments that you put into the package, the PC 15-1125 was the previously approved track map that has since expired. And that's not the actual resolution that approved the development. So I think that's where maybe part of the disconnect is. And the question came up in my mind because it was about that affordable unit and how that was addressed in the original approval, since it's not addressed in this tract map. And therefore it's not addressed in the CC&Rs unless it's in that original approval, which I can't find. So does that make sense? There just seems to be some date problems in each of these resolutions. And that's my comments.
Thank you, Lynn. And Chair, that is our last public speaker on the Zoom platform and in council.
Okay, great, thank you. Would the applicant like to come to the dais and respond to the questions that we had for them?
Hi, my name is Dovi Levin, and I'm the owner representative. So it's going to be 1 bedroom affordable unit. And you had one question before that. I'm sorry, I don't.
Is it so? One each of the 4 said they were going to have one affordable, so each of those is
Correct.
going to be a one-bedroom?
Correct.
But the project itself is going to be a mixture of how many one-bedroom units and how many two-bedroom units?
I believe that they're all three. I would have to double check that, but I believe they're three.
But the affordables are one-bedrooms?
Correct.
Do you know what the income levels for those affordables will be? Are they,
I don't know off the top of my head.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant at this time?
While you're here, I have two questions for you. Could you go in a little bit more? One of my colleagues raised the question about prolonged construction time. I was wondering if you could opine on that for a little bit. And then separately, just out of curiosity, it's our understanding per the staff report that you had previously issued to you the subdivision request, and that those have since expired for each of these 4 subdivisions. So I'm curious as to why those were allowed to expire.
So in terms of the the projects taking longer than expected, right now I can tell you that we're very close to the finish line, particularly on Genesee. A couple months, we're up to final on the 3 Ogdens. We're at rough, and we're pushing these very, very hard. Obviously there was some holdups during COVID, but right now we're moving forward full force. In terms of why it expired, I'll just be honest with you. I don't know. I wasn't in the company at that time, but I am personally taking care of it now, and I'm going to make sure that it gets to the finish line.
Thank you. No further questions.
Any additional questions? Thank you. Oh, Commissioner Lam, no? Okay.
I was just going to say, I feel like my question was answered. Other than COVID, any other reason for delay?
Labor issues. I mean, it was all, again, I can't speak to prior than COVID because I've only been with the company for about a year. But I do know that right now we're moving forward full force, and these are priorities. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any additional public comments that have come up, David? No? Okay, I'm going to close. Oh, does anyone else have questions?
I just had a question for staff.
Go ahead.
So the inclusionary units are 1 bedroom and the other units are 3. I was under the impression that inclusionary units had to be equal to the other units in the property. Is that not correct?
They would be comparable in size and builder quality and appliance and so forth. The applicant works with the housing department to select the type and the unit within that development, and these have been identified as 1-bedroom units for these 4 separate developments. Back when the building permit, or prior to the building permit issuance, after the entitlement, those were the units that were selected in 2015.
But a 1-bedroom unit is going to be smaller than a 3-bedroom, I would imagine.
They would be smaller in terms of a number of bedrooms. I don't have the housing agreement with me, but those were the units that were selected then.
But Tony, if I can step in just to be clear, so the affordability requirements and the affordable housing agreement that would have been entered would have been as part of the demolition and development permits, correct? So separate from the tentative track map before the commission.
Correct. Yes, that would have been the development permit.
Okay.
Any additional questions for staff? Okay, so I'm going to close the public comment portion of the hearing. We can move into deliberation. Oh, please go ahead, David.
I'll move approval of staff's recommendation and the draft resolutions.
I'm prepared to second. Does anybody want to discuss? No? And we can call the
I
question.
think Commissioner Copeland may have a question.
Oh, please go ahead.
No, I've just still have some confusion about the dates and things that are in the resolution. Like in subsection D on page 3, it says approved in September. It says a construction approval. This was a tract map approval or construction permit approval?
I'm sorry, Commissioner, which date are you referring to?
Like if you look at the Genesee resolution, for example, in section 1, it says the original was February 19th, 2015. But then on page 3, subsection D, it says approved September. The resolution PC 15-1113 says construction approval in 2015. But was that tract map approval or was that a construction permit approval?
My apologies. Let me.
It's okay. I tried to look up under both of those
up.
numbers and I couldn't find anything, so I'm sorry about the confusion.
No problem. I'm going to look up the resolution too.
Okay, and also, do we know what the affordable income levels were for those affordable units? Are they lowest or lower, or do we moderate? Do we have any idea? Are they varied or?
That information I don't have.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
I defer to the city attorney, but I do want to make clear that for the purposes of these kinds of requests, these subdivision requests, it is fairly nuanced, but I don't believe that we're able to take into consideration things like affordable housing count or the kinds of or levels of affordable housing that would be included, as those have already been approved, I believe, in the demolition and construction permitting process, which was completed in 2015, if I'm not mistaken. I don't want to silence anyone, and I certainly want everyone to be able to ask questions, but I do want to be clear about the legal groundwork on which we are able to make a consideration for this evening. So, in any case, again, I'm happy to engage additional discussion and debate, but there is a motion and a second on the floor, but I don't want to call the vote until everyone feels that they've been heard. So,
I have the.
Can we just hear confirmation from the city attorney that what you're saying is the case? I believe it to be true as well. I just wanted confirmation from the city
It's
attorney.
correct that before the Planning Commission and what was noticed as the consolidated public hearing is limited just to the transition for the units to obtain the tentative tract map approval and the subdivision, that they are all, I believe as Tony said, in construction. They've received their other discretionary entitlements, and that at that time they would have worked with the housing department both for this specific unit breakdown, consistent with the city's inclusionary requirements, and have had a requirement to enter into an affordable housing agreement to secure the affordability. And it sounds like Tony may be able to speak specifically to the resolutions, but I believe they all happened simultaneously, that previously the Planning Commission approved the subdivision at the same time they approved the demolition permit and the development permit for all 4 sites in 2015.
Yes, just one clarification to that. The Ogdens were in September of 2015. The Genesee was in February of 2015. So the Ogdens, the 3 Ogden properties were at the time a consolidated hearing that included the development permit, the demolition permit, and the subdivision. And similarly, a few months prior, in February, the Genesee included the demolition, development, and subdivision.
everyone, Commissioner Lombardi, go ahead.
I just want to make sure I'm trying to follow. Are there any date or other clarifications that need to be made in the resolution? Is there anything that's misstated or labeled?
If I can get clarification from Commissioner Copeland on which item, I have the resolution open.
I believe that you answered my question was if it was for tract map approval or construction approval. I think which one was it? It was a little bit confusing, so that's what my question was.
2015 was the subdivision and the development.
Both?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we're all good on the resolutions. They're accurate to the best of our knowledge. Yes, just want to make sure, because now I'm getting uneasy.
Everybody good?
That's my question for staff. Are we good? There's no date issues.
There's no date
Okay.
issues, no.
Thank you.
Okay. We ready to call the vote? Okay.
And the motion carries with 6 ayes. Noting Commissioner Carvalero absent, this is approving resolutions number 221498, 221499, 221500, 221501. And we do have an appeal process. The resolution the Planning Commission just approved memorializes the Commission's final action on this matter. This action is subject to appeal to the City Council. Appeals must be submitted within 10 calendar days from this date to the City Clerk's office. Appeals must be in writing and accompanied by the required fees. The City Clerk's office can provide appeal forms and information about waiver of fees.
Thank you, David. Item 10D is 8527 to 8555 Santa Monica Boulevard, and 8532 to 8552 Northwest Knoll Drive. Again, as previously stated, when we did approve the agenda, this has been requested for continuance to our January 19th, 2023 meeting. This has been continued a number of times, actually. This was a public hearing to consider a request to demolish all existing structures on 6 contiguous parcels and construct a new 5-story mixed-use development for the aforementioned properties. Item 10E is a zone text amendment for West Hollywood West Neighborhood Overlay District design standards, possibly one of the longer named ZTAs. This is also being proposed for continuance to our December 15th, 2022 meeting. This was also a public hearing to consider a ZTA to repeal the existing standards in West Hollywood West and replace them with updated standards for development within the West Hollywood West Neighborhood Overlay District. So with that, we do conclude our public hearings, and we will jet right into item 11A, which is new business. This is discussion of Planning Commission and subcommittees meeting schedule for the next calendar year. I feel like Jennifer would normally do this. Are you filling in, Tony?
Yes, I
Okay.
will be filling in for Jennifer.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. So we have recommendations here for cancellation. However, staff just wants to point out that there are 3 cancellations here: December 7th, December 21st, and January 4th, and that would be January 4th of 2024. It's difficult to cancel 3 meetings in a row, so staff would recommend that we do hold one of these meetings, and that's where we would like the Commission's input. December 7th is the Chanukah observance. December 21st is getting close to the end of the year and holidays, and then January 4th is just at the beginning of the year. It's been generally the Commission will cancel the last meeting in December and the first meeting in January. But we do understand that December 7th is also an important day. And so wanted to open this up for discussion amongst the Commission. If the Commission wants to hold one of those dates rather than cancel 3 consecutive meetings.
What meetings are we talking about? Subcommittees?
I'm sorry. These would be for
Just the Planning Commission.
These are the Planning Commission meetings.
On December 7th, 14th, and January 4th?
7th, 21st, and January 4th.
And January 4th is
Those are Wednesday
2024.
nights?
Yeah.
Correct.
Sorry?
So Wednesday nights?
No, this is for next year. This is for,
for next year.
December of 2023 and then January of 2024. I mean, you know, I don't, it's my sense, and again, please, like, let's discuss this. I don't feel that we can do it on December 7th. That is Hanukkah and it is a religious holiday, so I want to be respectful. I also want to, obviously, whoever's up here, want to encourage as much participation as possible. December 21st is, 4 days before the Christmas holiday, another religious holiday. It's not a holiday itself, but I guess if we had to, again, in my view, if we had to do any of them, it would be the January 4th meeting.
I agree with you.
We have alignment. Everybody cool with that?
Yeah.
Oh, please go ahead.
I think the issue is that we would also be, there's also the November meeting that would be canceled, so we wouldn't have a meeting after November 16th. Is that the issue, staff? If I'm looking at this calendar correctly, the next attachment, you can see it a little bit better. So our last meeting of the year would essentially be November 16th.
That's correct. Staff would, one of staff's recommendations was to hold the December 21st meeting for the reason Vice Chair brought up.
Would it be possible, and I don't know what the rest of the city's commission and board schedule is like, what about Thursday the 14th? Could we potentially hold it on an off Thursday, or is that out of the question?
That's Rent Stabilization Commission.
Okay, that's, I figured there would be a conflict, okay.
Do we need to make a decision now? We don't know what sort of business will come before the city a year from now.
I mean, we usually approve it at this time. I mean, I suppose it's subject to change later, but.
Honestly, I'm fine with having it on December 21st. If, God willing, I am still here, then I would come on December 21st.
That's fine with me, too.
That's fine with me. I'm okay with that.
I don't have any concerns either.
Okay. Because that would put Christmas on, let's see, 22, 23, 24, 25. So Christmas would be on a Monday, is that right? Just wanted to make sure I have the date right. I could support that. I'm aligned.
Do you think that it would be wise to include the 21st, 2023 of December and January 4th, 2024, in case there is an opportunity, given the business before the commission at that time, if there is an opportunity to cancel the 21st, if there's no immediate need, and then they can just use the 4th? Do you think that would be a wise way of approaching it?
Yeah, I mean, I defer to staff just because you're going to know more about the load at that time than we would, at least at this point in time.
Right. Yeah, it's difficult to know what would be on the agenda. We're basing it off of prior years and
right.
What's been canceled and held by in prior years, and it's usually the last of December and the 1st of January that get canceled. But given the circumstances, staff would recommend December 21st be held.
I'm fine with that, and I think should a need arise, I mean, I think everybody would want a few months' notice, but should a need arise, somewhat imminently for there to be a January meeting, maybe there could be a request by staff to hold that.
Correct. Yes.
Is that okay, Commissioner Manos? Do you feel okay about that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So December 21st it is, it sounds like.
Okay. And the rest are as recommended here.
Do we have any discussion about any of these, or anybody have any vehement objections to any of this? Or not vehement objections? Okay.
Sorry, Chair. If one of the recommendations was to cancel the long-range planning subcommittee for December 21st, and that was initially because the Planning Commission would be canceled. But if we hold a December 21st Planning Commission, then the long-range subcommittee can potentially also stay on.
Yeah.
I defer to the long-range planning committee members, but yeah. You guys okay with that?
Me.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So I believe, Tony, do you have anything else? Really putting you on the spot.
That would be it for this item.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 12, it's unfinished business, there is none. Item 13 is excluded consent calendar, there is none. Item 14 is items from staff. We have item 14A is the planning manager's update.
Okay, so for, just want to share some upcoming items for Planning Commission. Those items some of the items that were continued from tonight's agenda, such as 8465 Santa Monica will be on the December 15th agenda, as well as a zone text amendment for the West Hollywood West Design Review substandard standards, and a zone text amendment for accessory dwelling units. That would be on December 15th. The January 5th meeting is canceled, and for January 19th, we have 8555 Santa Monica Boulevard. That's the mixed-use project that was continued from tonight's agenda. 8497 through 8499 also continued from tonight's agenda. And there's an item at 1047 North Crescent Boulevard, Crescent Heights Boulevard. This would be for a general plan consistency. That would be from yes, that would be a general plan consistency item. And moving on to subcommittee meetings, there are no upcoming Planning Commission Design Review Subcommittee items in December, and the first meeting in January, that January 12th, has been canceled. For the Sunset Arts and Advertising Subcommittee, we have an item on January 12th, and that's 8501 Sunset Boulevard. That would be a billboard application that includes a facade improvement to a commercial building. And for Long Range Planning Subcommittee, December 15, there are two pending items. One, both would be zone text amendments, one related to parking minimums, and the other related to hotel rooftop additions. The January 19th item or meeting has no items at this time. So those are the upcoming items in the next couple of months. If you have any questions, I'm happy to address
Any
those.
questions?
I will not be at the December 15th meeting, so is 2 members of Long Range, is that okay to still have the meeting, or does it have to be all 3 of us?
For the subcommittee?
Yes.
2 members is fine.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay, thank you very much, Tony.
Thank you.
Item 15 is public comment. Again, this is a general comment period for anyone who's either in chambers or joining us via phone or on Zoom to make a comment that does not pertain to any of the items that we did or would have heard this evening. David, do we have any public speakers?
Chair, we have no public speakers in the council chambers, and we have no one on Zoom. We are clear.
Okay, great, thank you. Item 16 is items from commissioners. I don't usually go first, but I don't want to forget. I did want to just tag team on Commissioner Copeland's note about potentially doing meetings via Zoom for a while. I know we're all still coming out of this COVID times, but COVID cases have increased greatly, and we are living in a city with probably a larger population of immunocompromised people than most, certainly in terms of density. And I just really want to be mindful of that. I also want to make sure that anybody who's coming here, whether it's an applicant, someone in the public, people on the dais, and staff, feel comfortable and feel healthy. So yes, we can wear masks, but I would ask the city attorney, is there anything that we could do to ask, whether it's of our council members or of the city manager? Oh, John, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I know our director is looking into it currently, and,
Okay.
and I think you're always free to discuss with council. And,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, thank you. I just, it's kind of been an ever-evolving situation, especially as we spend more time inside and with all of the different sicknesses raging around us right now, whether it's flu or COVID or RSV or like when I was sick for a month, an unnamed illness that just makes you cough a lot. I just want people to feel safe and have the ability to be healthy, so I would concur with your request. Any other commissioner comments at this time? Commissioner Lombardi, go ahead.
Thank you. Now that I understand that Vice Chair Thomas will not be here for the next meeting, I also similarly wanted to say it's been lovely having you here, and I'm sure I will see you in 2023, but just in case, it's been a pleasure working with you, and I really do appreciate. In particular, I feel like you really have a good sense of the community's needs in mind, and I've appreciated that contribution. But I'm sure I'll see you in 2023, just in case.
Go ahead.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So I had a quick request for staff. This is something that we should look into be agendized for a future meeting if the commission is amenable to it. But there's been several pieces of legislation that have been passed at the California state level which impact planning standards, zoning standards, parking standards, things like that, that are going to have undoubtedly an impact in this city. There's going to be a lot of changes, and a lot of those bills go into effect at the beginning of January in 2023. I think that it is vital not only for the members of this commission, but also for the members of the public to have an overview of those pieces of legislation that are going to impact development within this city, presented in a public forum, at a public meeting. That can be briefed by staff or the Director of Planning and Development Services. But I really think that that is absolutely vital, not only for the members of the commission, but also for the members of the public, that we have that overview of legislation, what each of them does, what it means for applicability to projects in the city, so that we are all on the same page going into 2023.
Maybe we could position it as a training. I know we've done that before in the past, just for commissioners, and then obviously it would be public, so everybody would have an opportunity. It is very helpful. Is that something we can look into?
Chair, can I be even a little bit more specific?
Yeah,
I know specifically there's going to be CBC changes and the state building code changes. So those specifically, I just wanted to see if we could start with those because that's going to have a huge impact on projects.
Understood, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Commissioner Copeland, please go ahead.
Sorry, thank you, Chair. Just one more thing. I know on rent, we certainly got a long, detailed briefing of our most recent housing element report, and I assume that planning also did the same. And we hear a lot about the need to meet our arena numbers. And some of the other elements of the housing element report we haven't heard a lot about. I wondered, do we get any kind of an update, or could we, about where we are with those numbers as far as what's in the pipeline, number of units, and how many of those are in the income levels that they were recommended? And also, one of the things that was important in that housing element was that our vacancy rate was the highest in the area at the time at about 8%. So if it's possible to get any kind of updates periodically on where we are with all of those numbers, I think it would be helpful to see where we are. And I certainly would like to know where we stand on all of those things, if it's possible. Thank you. That's all I have, Chair.
Yes, planning will work with long-range planning on that. Thank you.
Any other items from commissioners? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and adjourn this meeting. I'm going to say this too, that council chambers are terrible places for goodbyes, so I'm just going to assume that I'm going to see all of you in the new year at some point, here or somewhere else. So with that, I will adjourn this meeting. We will adjourn to a regularly scheduled meeting on Thursday, December 15th, right here at 6:30 p.m. See you then. Thank you, everyone.
the line?
So join the conservation crusade with the city of West Hollywood. Save today, baby, for water tomorrow.